Welcome to week 3, differentiation and science. This lecture serves as the unit's overview as usual. Our module will go from July 21st to July 27th. So really quickly, we all know that science, similar to other content areas, has a lot of vocabulary. And most of that has to be developed foundationally in order for students to even engage in any kind of research or scientific studies that they are required to do. So the lack of vocabulary or the need for a vocabulary creates I believe, a requirement or obligation for teachers to differentiate, because that's the only way students can get through. So this unit provides resources that outline the best approaches for differentiating instruction within a science classroom or for science lessons. It doesn't focus specifically on a elementary or setting per se, but I know that a lot of the differentiated instruction approaches that are suggested can be adapted for elementary settings or levels, because I know for elementary settings it's all infused. So after completing this unit, educators will know the importance of varying science vocabulary when differentiating instruction to match diverse student profiles, and then the beginning process of implementing modifications with the science classroom setting to bridge reading gaps. So this can also be used in other content areas that have a high use of, I guess, rigorous vocabulary, or I guess complex vocabulary, because that's what I think about when I consider science. It has a lot of inner meanings and then layered meanings that have to be deconstructed for students to really capture what they're being expected to remember. Hopefully after completing the unit, if you are a science teacher or you teach a variety of subject areas, you should be able to differentiate instruction according to students' learning profiles, readiness, and interests, and then select and use assessment tools to inform science instruction for diverse learners with varying abilities. So there are a plethora of resources for this week. There's only one reading. That was intentional because I didn't want you to feel overwhelmed with having the midterm project due, and I know that that can be a lot of work for a lot of people and it takes up a lot of time. That's why I had it start last week, to give you an opportunity to be able to complete it. And then this week, that's the only thing you have to do. So the reading, differentiation, and the science classroom, an overview of strategies to aid in general science instruction by Jennifer Ann Croft. That's our main text, and then there are resources that include examples of differentiation for science, intervention in science, and then science differentiation and action. I also wanted to make sure I included different types of differentiation. So there is differentiation with disability resources, a resource which I think is very critical but very different from the differentiation that you would do for the entire class, accommodation versus modification. We'll talk about that in the next lecture. So to wrap it up, originally I had the idea that you would do a quiz, and because the reading is pretty, it's kind of self-explanatory in a certain sense, I wanted to do another case scenario, but I know the case scenarios actually take up a lot of time to answer. So for this week, I took away the quiz and also the cooperative group activity that you'll see later on in the course. The only thing you have to do that demonstrates the desired outcomes is a midterm project check-in. And remember, the goal here is to do your very best. So then the feedback that I give to you, you can actually use to start framing and designing your final project. Yes, you still have about 5 weeks left in the course, but the cool thing is that the midterm and the final are connected. So the main thing is that if you're doing your best on the midterm project and you get the feedback you need, you can go ahead and start and just modify it based on the new things that you learn. So it shouldn't be a huge time commitment for the next couple of weeks if you're staying ahead and staying on task with completing the things that you need to. The goal for me and for the goal I know for you is to not get overwhelmed when the school year starts, obviously. So I'm trying to make sure everything's aligned well, and also that it's an easy transition into the next week and the other requirements. Okay, that kind of wraps up everything for today. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I hope you have a great week.